Well, once again, you heard us on the calls coming in. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. I am super pumped about this call today. My name is Bart Bartlett. My colleague, my friend, my mentor over there, Peggy Simpson, has picked an incredible book that just the title of it is so intriguing because it's Shut Up and Listen. And that's what I'm going to do. It's all yours.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here with you on this platform. And here's the book in case you haven't seen it. Here it is. And let me share my screen here for a moment, and then we can begin. Let's get this going. Okay. So let me just say a couple of words about why I picked this book, right? We've been studying and reviewing a lot of personal development books. But if you didn't catch our very first call when we shared the books that we were going to be talking about, this one in particular drew my attention for a couple of reasons. One, I had never read anything from this person, didn't really know anything about them. The title was captivating. Also, one of the leaders in the business that you and I are in, Bart, said that if you haven't read Shut Up and Listen, you need to read it. So I wrote the book down, ordered the book, and said, I need to read this. And I chose it for our series because you and I are both entrepreneurs, and I also have a full-time job. And you have your own self-employment. And we've been talking about how to develop ourselves as individuals, right? And ensure our personal success. Well, this book takes it just a little bit farther, but there are a lot of parallels because it talks about how a business should succeed. As a business owner, what's important for you to pay attention to? And I think there are some interesting parallels. So just a little bit about this author in case anyone has not ever heard of him. Probably the most well-known thing that many could relate to is he is the owner of the NBA Houston Rockets. But he is also the richest restaurateur in the world, according to Forbes. Landry's and the Golden Nugget casinos and hotels are among his many businesses that he has. So some really general principles, and I love the last one I'll get to in a minute. So he talks about customer service and hospitality. Right? He says they are everything, no matter what your business is. And truly, we do know that customers, they're not loyal to a company anymore. They're not always loyal to a product. But customer service, hospitality, we'll hear some more about that. When talking to a customer, always make sure to make the conversation about them. And I would suggest to you that that is true, not just when you're talking to a customer, but when you're talking to anyone, that especially if you're just meeting them, make the conversation about them, get them talking about themselves and engage with them to learn more. I love this expression, live your leadership, and we'll hear some more about that. And the last one I just love, puts a smile on my face. It says, be plappy. And what the heck does that mean, right? What does be plappy mean? It means always present yourself with a happy demeanor. You may have problems, you may have issues you're going through, you may not feel very well, but when you're in business and you're in front of your customers or even your teams, make sure you keep a happy demeanor. Don't make your burdens their burdens. But it was the expression, be plappy. I'm going to remember that for forever now. I'm just going to say, I'm just being plappy. Okay, hospitality. There are 5 chapters that he talks about, and these are the critical factors that he deems are very important in running a business successfully. So the hospitality, as I mentioned, he already said, it's important everywhere in any business. But a few key takeaways that we have learned as individuals: follow through, keep your word, right? If you tell a customer you're going to take care of something, then take care of it. Don't make a promise you can't fulfill. Ask questions to make sure they know you're listening. right? Don't just sit there and let them ramble and you're sitting there looking at your phone, or pay attention and ask them questions so they know you're listening, they know you're engaged. Key factor he talks about quite a bit in the book. Find out what the customer believes would be an improvement if there's a situation. Don't make assumptions. Don't think you know what is best. Find out from them, if it's possible, find out from them what they believe would be an improvement. Cater to the masses, right? The more customers that you can please, the more business. That's his concept. So cater to the masses, not a small niche of people that have unique needs necessarily, unless that's going to be some kind of specialty. And observe the competition and do something different. Make yourself distinguishable in the competition and be very good at it. And the last thing he says, and I like this phrase too, you may not be able to avoid the fire. Customers get upset, accidents happen, but be conscious of how you put it out. Yeah. It doesn't cost anything to be nice. So even if a customer is being a little outlandish and difficult to deal with, it's our job to make sure that we can bring them back off that ledge. And I guess I'm real sensitive. This book was real appropriate to me because I'm in the customer success business. That's my full-time job as a director of customer success. And this is something I used to teach when I had a team. You know, make sure the customer may not always be right. And you may not be always able to tell the customer yes, but find a way to explain, and find a way, if there is one, explain why the situation works the way it does from their perspective. Put it in terms that they can understand and they can realize why the system or why the process is what it is, to either protect them, give them an overall better experience, something, whatever it may be. But hospitality, any comments you have there, Bart, on hospitality?
Wow. I mean, I've not read this book, but I'm going to immediately because of a couple of things. One, I love Landry Seafood. One of my favorite restaurants to go to. Didn't realize he owned that. I've been to several Houston Rocket games, but as you were talking and said that the person who recommended this book to us, it totally started to make sense why he recommended it. Because what you've just laid out for us right here is exactly what he mentors and models to us. Doesn't teach, he models it. And that is when you talk to someone, he calls it the platinum rule, not the golden rule, where you treat others like you want to be treated. You treat them like they want to be treated, to the point he says, if someone speaks fast, you might speak a little bit faster. If they're soft-spoken, you become soft-spoken. You model that customer. Absolutely brilliant here. I love that quote too. Be conscious of how you put out the fire.
Yep. You may not be able to avoid it, but be conscious how you put it out.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that was a good nugget to carry. And I think that, you can apply that in life as well.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely, you can.
Things happen in life that are outside your control, but what have we said thousands of times? You may not be able to control everything that happens, but you do have control over how you react.
Look at how we're living right now.
Yeah.
We don't have any control over that.
Nope.
But we do have total control over how we react to it, how we talk about it. And I love the fact that, it puts it back on what would that person really feel like if they had a voice.
Yes. Yep. Good stuff. So this is really a detailed chapter about knowing your numbers, right? If you're going to be a fiscally responsible business owner, you need to know what your numbers are. And he speaks from a position of a business owner who owns brick and mortar businesses. Yeah. Our business is not a brick and mortar type of business that we're in. However, there's still an element of working capital. Yeah. And you want to make sure that you have the right amount of working capital so that you can put your money to use right away to help your business function at its very peak. Optimize what you can glean from the business and the success that the business had. There's a couple of things in here that might be a little bit controversial, particularly during a down cycle. Use your cash to expand your business. That's counterintuitive. Yeah. Most people would say, like now, in a down cycle, hang on, because you don't know how long that may last. But as we have also said in other times, and we have heard, you want to do the opposite of what the norm is and what the average person is doing. And this is, in fact, the time when those who are trying to optimize their wealth will look for opportunities to expand, because prices are cheaper. You get more for your money in some cases, right? Or you're preparing to make yourself ready when you recover from whatever the incident is, and so that you're ready to ride that wave, instead of letting the wave hit you in the face, knock you over, and then you have to get back up and figure out how to ride it. This last one also I thought was a bit controversial, and I won't spend too much time on this chapter simply because it is really business focused. But even personally, I actually have thought about this in the past. If a good opportunity arises, borrow money in times even when you don't need it. And from a business perspective, the reason he says that is because it helps you build working capital. When you still have the business activity and the cash flow coming in, that you can repay it over time, right? But it gives you a bigger account to build up more quickly. But that, I think, you have to balance that with fiscal responsibility, and you also have to balance it with the interest rates. But right now, when interest rates are really low, I can understand why someone who's in wealth building and business expansion might choose to borrow money while the interest rates are low, to build up their capital, even if they could do without it, right, running their business. So I thought that was interesting. Any thoughts you have here?
Yeah, I this is really powerful. And before we get into this, I want to say welcome to Shelley, Rhonda, Michael, Taryn, and Jolanda. They've all joined us on the call today. What came out to me, I love that fourth one about during a down cycle, use your cash to expand your business. The thing we do know about successful people who are millionaires, is that they see opportunities in moments just like we're in.
Yep.
And as we've talked about this on many calls, it goes back to Robert Kiyosaki. The negative mind, the poor dad says, I can't afford that. The rich dad says, how can I not afford to do it? How can I afford it? And right. So that really comes out to it. The part about borrowing money, what started noodling on me was, this is a really opportune time to, if you have a mortgage, to refinance your mortgage, because the rates are so low. They're all-time lows. And the loan companies are willing to work with you. So you then have more working capital. Maybe you don't need that money, but it becomes a nest egg. So when something like this happens again, and Peggy, you and I have lived for more than 20 years, so we've said at least twice we've seen this.
Yeah, at least 21.
Yeah, 21 exactly. About every 10 years, something like this happens. Just go back, 3 decades, 9/11, and then 2008, the financial crisis, and now this. About every 8 to 10 years, something happens. So you prepare yourself for it. I'm loving this book.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It gets better. So this was key. And Bart, I know you're going to be able to relate to this. Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Never put your lifestyle ahead of your business. And what does he mean by that? He means don't outlive your earnings, right? Don't try to put on a show. The most important thing is to be fiscally responsible and fiscally affluent, right? Keep your cash available as working capital and live according to your means. So I know you can relate to that one.
Absolutely. And if you can't relate to it, folks, just Google Keanu Reeves. You know who he is. Read about him and see how he lives. Multi-million-dollar successful actor. You know the movies he's been in. but look how he lives. He takes the subway everywhere he goes
Yeah.
in New York
Yeah.
because that's what regular people do. That's who he works among. So I love that quote.
Yeah, me too. Okay. The 95-5 rule. He spent a fair amount of time, and this is another business principle that I also believe we can adopt personally, which is why I put business/life, right? 95 is the portion of your business or your life that functions well. The things that you have control over that are working well, you know, whatever those activities may be. The 5 are those elements that if you could do those things better, it would set you apart and bring you more success and propel you to the next level. So the 95-5 rule, he says most businesses are moderately successful. And I noticed he said moderately successful at 95% of what they do. But the remaining 5% can determine whether the business excels. And I thought about that for a good while. And I absolutely think that we can apply that in our personal lives as well. Yeah. We all have gifts and talents, and we should be looking for ways to utilize those. But even with those gifts and talents, don't accept necessarily what you're able to do. Look for what else aligns with those or raises those up a bar. Yeah. How do you think world records are broken? Because people push themselves. They push themselves beyond their recognized ability and do something extraordinary. And in his point, that's where a business truly excels. The Ritz is one of those places, right? They pay very close attention and are always watchful of everything around them. The managers and the staff, all the staff are empowered to take care of a customer issue because they're looking for the things that they could do slightly better or that just aren't quite making the customer thrilled or getting them that customer excellence, that experience that they want their customers to have. So I think this is really key. Pay attention to the small details because those are the differentiators. And put the 5% at the forefront of your thoughts, decisions, and actions because the 95 is already in place. You don't want to dwell on your time, right? 100% of just maintaining. Focus on that 5% that allows you to make it better. Back to you. Comments.
You know, I'm gonna be all over this like white on rice. You know I am. Because
I do.
This is perfect for what I've been studying for well over a year. And that is 95% of everything we do, every thought we have is controlled by our subconscious. It's what is embedded in our noggin that we have been told ourselves that's just the way it is, the way it can't happen. We open ourselves up to only 5% of being able to have some fluidity. How do you break that? You've got to reprogram that 95%. And that is so, so hard. You hit on something really powerful. And it's got me thinking. Talk about breaking records in the Olympiads. Simone Biles. What she has done, no one else ever thought could be done. But go back to Mary Lou Retton. During that time, it couldn't be done.
Right, that's right.
Michael Phelps, no one thought could do what he did.
That's right.
Go back to Greg Louganis during that time. I know he was a diver and a swimmer, but still, it couldn't be done.
Yep.
But time allows you to. And how did that happen? That 95% got reprogrammed. Someone made Simone Biles believe, and Michael Phelps believe, that they could do something different, that they could be somewhere where something else happened. I can tell you right now, this moment, just because Simone Biles cannot be in the 2020 Olympics, and we just heard there may not be a 2021 Olympics, that's not stopping her because her mindset is, I'm expanding that 5%. I'm going to do something else different.
Yep.
This is just, I mean, this is incredible to put it in the perspective of a business, but you were so smart to say, This is life. And that's exactly right. This is how this works in life.
Yep, it is. See the opportunity and seize the opportunity, right? Don't be a spectator. This isn't the movies. You don't get to rewind and run it again. You only get one shot, right? So build your business, focus on something different from what others are doing. Recognize great ideas may take time to come to fruition. Be patient, but see the bigger picture. We talked about that a lot with John Maxwell's book, right? The power of strategic thinking, opportunity thinking, but be reality thinking and focused as well. There's a balance there. And Tilman was saying the very same thing. Work the good times, but prepare for the bad, right? Don't get complacent where you are, and schedule time for what ifs. And by this, he meant from a business perspective or any commitment perspective, make sure you build in the slack time to take into consideration what could happen that could impact. And if you take time to do that, that will tailor the commitment that you sign up for. So you don't say, definitely, it's absolutely 100% guaranteed it's going to be there on Friday. And you didn't take into consideration that you're in the middle of winter and a snowstorm is forecasted. So you're likely not going to be able to travel to get it there. Right? That's just a very bizarre example, but it's important because we often do it. And especially when you're in front of a customer or someone that you've made that you know is expecting something from you and you have to make that commitment, we want to put ourselves out there as overachievers. But putting a commitment out there that you haven't considered the what ifs is only setting yourself up for failure. So make sure that you do schedule some time for that. And once again, we have some common threads. Not every deal has to be a home run, right? Swing the bat and get on the base. Meaning, don't always shoot for the greatest, largest improvement in one big bang. Take things small, one step at a time. As infants, we don't just, get up off our mother's lap and start walking, right? We have to learn how to sit up first. We have to learn how to control our limbs. Our mind has to develop. Then we have to learn how to move and realize the freedom of that movement. We have to celebrate that success as we learn to crawl or scoot or however we figured out how to get around. And finally, at some point, we say, you know what? These big guys around me are getting around faster than me. Let me try this walking business and see if I can do it. And we have no thoughts that there's any time schedule, no expectations. But what do we know instinctively? What do we know? The more we practice, the more we try, eventually we'll get it. And that's the point here too. Back to you.
Love it. I love to see the opportunity and seize the opportunity. I started chuckling because first, one of the things that came to mind, and the way you summed it up is so perfect about the what ifs and getting on base. When you make that commitment and you ask yourself, can I do this? Here's the answer. And it comes from one of our friends and our mentors in our company, Cesar Munoz, who says, yes or yes.
Yes or yes.
Yes or yes. That's your answer. Can I do this? Yes or yes. Because even if you do it and you don't have the results you only got on base, guess what? You learn from that. So maybe next time you get to second base.
Yep.
If you hit that home run, then that's your expectation every time. And you missed a lot of stuff along the way. So can you do it? Yes or yes.
Yep. It's great. Live your leadership. And we've already talked about some of these, but a couple of things. He said you have to be, if you want to be a leader, you have to be willing to accept constructive feedback. Yeah. Constructive feedback from your teams. As an individual, you have to be willing to accept and own the feedback. Because again, you may not agree with what their perception is, but their perception is the reality that you need to deal with. So be open to accept feedback And he also says, be a great teacher. Share your knowledge. Knowledge stored up isn't worth anything. Share it and stay true to yourself, right? Leaders always stay true to their core values and to themselves. And he identifies also, in his case, he's talking about the business and the people that you surround yourself with, that you hire, that are within your business or business partners. But he also discusses the fact that one person by themselves with a passion is truly a positive asset. But many people with that same level of passion are priceless. They're invaluable. So surround yourself with strong people, and people who know more than what you do as a leader, or know different things than what you do. You know, leaders often have a lot of unique traits, and Bart, you know, in a different environment, we, you know, spent a lot of time with the MTBI or MBTI evaluation of how people think and how they communicate, right? And we know that some people think big picture right away, and they're up here, and they don't worry so much of the how, but they look at what, right? What, when, where, but not the how. They let other people think about the how. So if you look for these complementary people, and I would suggest to you that as an individual, you also want to surround yourself with people that have skills that you do not. People that have had success in areas where you want to grow to, but maybe you haven't gotten there yet. And what's the famous, who do we surround ourselves with, Bart?
That's right. If you're the smartest, richest person in your group, you're in the wrong group.
That's right. That's right. And he would suggest the same thing is true in business.
Yep.
So this was a great book, and there's a couple of things here just to summarize it. Never ever stop thinking about your business. And I love this one because there's a paddle for everyone's ass. And excuse my French, but I had to use that quote. And what he says is, right, it goes back to that 95-5. Don't get comfortable. If your business is successful, don't get comfortable where you are. Look for what you can do to raise the bar. And I suggest again that is true in life. Don't be just satisfied where you are. Whether it's something personally you want to learn more about to improve your knowledge, whether there's a skill you want to build up, whatever it may be. But don't get complacent, because as he says, there's a paddle for everyone's ass. I love that expression. Don't quit. He says, be the bull, right? And we know, why do some people never realize their dream? Why do some businesses never make it past their first year? Oftentimes it's because they quit. It didn't work out as they first envisioned, so they weren't willing to change. They weren't willing to evaluate, assess it, and tweak it. Don't try to run the marathon until you've proven you can crawl. That goes back to, you know, don't try to hit a home run every time. Again, the same skills. And the last one, by anticipating change, you don't just change with the times, you change the times themselves. So if in your life or in your business, you must be flexible, you need to be adaptable, you anticipate changes that could come, and you ready yourself to either get around them, avoid them altogether, or have the plan of how you're going to push through them. And you just might affect the things that come next in your life. Back to you.
Wow. You know, what a great book. And hello to Cynthia. She's joined us. And folks, the book is again called Shut Up and Listen by Tilman Fertitta. You know, two things overwhelming or overarching that comes to me. Back when you talked about constructive feedback, I think the thing everyone needs to remember is that feedback is strictly information.
Yep.
It's like reading a caution on the side of a over-the-counter piece of medicine. It's just information, and it's someone else's opinion, and you know what opinions are like because he used a paddle on one. So there you go, you know. So you got that. But the other thing is, and it's one of the things I talk about in the seminars I do, what comes to mind when someone mentions your name, that is your brand. And whether or not you agree with it or not, it's just information. But if you really want to take yourself to another level, you have to own that. You have to own that someone does believe that about you.
Yep.
And I love the fact that you change the times themselves. And isn't that the critical part of it? I think one of the things I keep hearing quite often with what we're going through now, especially for people, I'm going to say in their 40s and older, is it reminds us of a time when, because there was a time that we didn't go to restaurants all the time and eat out. There was a time you went to the grocery store once a week.
That's right.
If you went that often. There was a time where you stayed home and figured out how to play because that's what you did.
Right.
So, and a lot of people said, we're back to that time. Well, in some respects, we're changing the times themselves.
Right.
Because whenever we do get back to integrating like it used to be, it's not going to be like it used to be.
No,
it's going to be something different. And how do I know that? Is because tomorrow is a different day.
That's right. That's right.
I love this book. Boy, you picked a great one to kind of, bring into a whole funnel scope there of what we've been talking about over the last 5 or 6 sessions.
It was an enjoyable book. And I'll share mine with you.
Yes.
If you'd like to read it.
Yes, I'd love to read it. All right, everyone, we're coming back to you on Thursday, and here is our final book in our series, and it's called No Excuses.
Oh, I love
by
this book.
Brian Tracy. And the reason we chose this to be the final one, we start out with those 4 agreements. We gave you all these levels of success that you can work with. Peggy taught you today, the key to it all is to shut up and listen. So now there are no excuses. And you can see, I really like this book.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're in for a good discussion.
It's pretty colorful on the sides here.
They're color-coded.
Yes, it's color-coded. I think what I'm going to do on a Thursday is really just bring out some real key concepts. He says it's 21 ways to achieve lasting happiness. But I'm just going to pick just a few things, some quotes he has, some ideas he puts out there that I hope brings it all into fruition for us. And then on Saturday, we're going to just recap all 6 books and then tell you where we're going to head next. Peggy, this has been so enjoyable. Your final thoughts and parting words to our audience, a great audience today.
Yeah, again, thank you all for joining. I hope that you got some good information that you can use in your business if you're a business owner or an entrepreneur, or in your personal life, or both. This has been my pleasure. It's always a great time to join Bart on this platform, and I will look forward to Thursday.
Excellent. Well, everyone, have a great rest of your Tuesday, and we'll see you back same time, same channel, 5 Eastern, 4 Central on Thursday. See you then. Bye, everyone.
Bye.